The only other students I remember attending the school were Pete Cody, John Cody, the retired registry inspector's brother, and a cute little blonde girl by the name of Dottie Snow. Many of you know her as Dot St. Dennis. One afternoon, my mother, I'm going to use the word insisted, that my brother Bob take me to the movies with him. I would say I must have been about 4 years old. I am sure that Bob was not happy about having to take his kid brother tagging along. The star of the movie was a very popular juvenile actor by the name of Jackie Cooper. I don't remember the title of the movie or what it was about, but I will never forget the incident that happened next. Folks, I messed my pants. And did it stink. I was smelling up the whole Park Theater. Poor Bob had to leave in the middle of the movie and take me back to the store. It has been almost 67 years, and I don't think my brother has ever forgiven me to this day. He commented not too long ago that he never did find out how the movie ended. By the way, that was the first movie I had ever been to. We all hear so much about the healthcare delivery system in this country. Some people say that it is working very well. Some people say it does not work at all. Back when I was growing up in Spencer, it did not matter who you were or how much money you had. If you were rich or if you were poor, you got health care. We had 5 medical doctors in Spencer. They all had daily office hours, usually both in the afternoon and the evening, and yes, they made house calls. The Civin family doctor was Alfred Brown, M.D. His office was located in a Victorian house where the parking lot of the Spencer Savings Bank is now situated. In one's lifetime, there are many heroes. Some of them are famous, perhaps most are unsung. Dr. Brown has been dead for over 40 years, but he still fills the bill of one of my most admired people. Doc Brown was more than a good family physician. He was also a friend, your mentor. The family would seek his advice in matters other than medical. He was always there for you when you needed him. When he treated you and you asked him what you owed, he would say, "Oh, hell, give me $2. Or he would just say, "Get out of here. I didn't do anything. You don't owe me anything." Dr. Brown was a handsome man, about 6 feet tall and very slender. In later life, one of his legs was amputated as a result of a bone disease he had contracted as a young doctor working for the U.S. Public Health Service in the jungles of Colombia. He used to entertain his juvenile patients by hitting the knee joint of his wooden leg with a mallet when he was sitting down. Next door to the doctor's house stood the congregational minister's house. The Reverend Bentley was the minister at the time the doctor got his first wooden leg, and the minister's 6-year-old son knocked at the Brown door and said, "Doc, I'm here to see your leg." Dr. Brown's reply was, "Do you have a nickel?" The boy replied that he did not. The doctor told him to go get 5 of his friends and would be happy to show them the wooden leg 6 for a quarter. 6 little boys came back to the house shortly, and Doc Brown pulled up his pant leg and showed them his artificial leg and pocketed 25 cents. Doc Brown used to call Dr. Romeo Canoyer one of the smartest young men he had ever known. Dr. Canoyer at the time was the youngest practicing doctor in the state of Massachusetts. His office was on the corner of Cherry and Ash Street. When our family could not get Dr. Brown, most of the time we would call Dr. Canoyer as a substitute. Dr. John Fowler was in the house next door to the Sugden block. He was a very handsome man with snow-white hair who chain-smoked cigarettes. Imagine a doctor chain-smoking cigarettes today. His wife used to say that Dr. Fowler was just about the best thing to come out of the state of Virginia. Dr. John Fowler's nephew, Dr. Richard Fowler, took over his practice after World War II. Dr. Fowler practiced in the same location until he died about 4 or 5 years ago. Dr. Austin, I don't remember his first name, lived and practiced medicine in the house next door to Dr. Brown's. His house has also disappeared to make room for the Spencer Savings Bank. Doc Austin was a typical small-town doctor whom his patients loved. He was portly and as Irish as Paddy's pig with a weakness for whiskey. I remember Dr. Matthew Conlon. He was a very jovial man, though Irish, spoke fluent French. A widower, he lived with his sister Kate, a chiropodist, on Elm Street. Dr. Raoul Roubeau had an office on the corner of Cherry and Linden Street. Dr. Daniel Seidenberg came to Spencer in the late 1930s. He was originally from St. Louis, but had been camp doctor at the CCC camp. He left Spencer shortly before the start of World War II to become an Army doctor. He set up a practice in Worcester after the war, but many people from Spencer went to Worcester to see him for medical care until he retired maybe 10 years ago. I think that Dr. Seidenberg is still alive, though he must be well into his 90s. Mrs. Miller tried to arrange a romance with Dr. Seidenberg and one of her daughters. Are you wondering who Mrs. Miller is? I will get to her next. Thanks for listening this week. It's been a pleasure doing this story. I'm just having so much fun. Now, again, I sure would like to hear from some of you, and my email address is mcivin@aol.com. Please do let me hear from you, and until then, until the next segment and a little more of the story, goodbye.